Okay, last time we already finished to add some data, and when we are adding the data, we use the admin. We use the admin page, and we add the data manually. So here we have the choice and the questions, okay, and then we add manually, like this one, and I already teach you how to connect this db.sqlite into the database in PyCharm. So if you are having no problem with the database, you will see like this one. Okay, so you can see the DB axis in this part, and then you can see the main and the server object. So before that one, I think last week we already have this data source entries. So for this data source, you need to know about your computer, and every computer will have a kind of driver to your database. Since I'm using the SQLite, so you need to get the driver for the SQLite. If you use MySQL, later you need to install also the driver for MySQL. If you use the Oracle, then you also need to install the driver for Oracle. So it depends on your database. In our class now, we are going to use the SQLite. So you need to download the proper driver. So the driver, if it is missing, then it will show you a message, download the missing driver. And then once you download it, then there will be a kind of button to test the connection. So if the connection is okay, succeeded, then you can just use this driver for your database. When you click OK, then you can see that your database is on. Okay. Any problems under here? So if everything okay, then you will see that your DB is here. And then when you open it, when you open this tree, there will be tables. Okay? So we have like 14 tables. This is the default from the SQLite DB. And then you can see that there are two unique table or two unique table here, choice and questions. And it starts with FAQ. The FAQ is the name of our application. And then choice is the name of our table. So this is the way the SQLite generates the initial table. And after you have this, you can just double click, for example, on the question. If you double click on the questions, then you will see that this is the question. So you will see the data in the form of table. For example, this one, the ID one is where is neighbor, and then it shows the publication date. The publication date, it was like last week when we input the data. And then you can also look at the choice. When you double click on the choice here, you will see also the data that you already inserted. So the other things is if you want to see the users or the user group, it shows some kind of like this one. They show the password. The password already change to kind of encrypted. So we call it encrypted because the password cannot just save with the original format. So we need to change to some security issues. So we call this is the encrypted password. And then the last login and etc. It will be shown in this kind of user table. Okay, then if you want to configure the database, I will just give you some information. By the default, we will use the SQLite. So Django provides the SQLite for creating the data and for saving the data, for extracting the data. If you wish to use another database, install the appropriate database binding and change the following keys in the database default item to match your database connection settings. So, for example, in the engine, in the settings.py, you will see from the database here, the engine is using the django.db.backends.sqlite3. So if you want to change this one to other kind of database, like say, I want to use Postgre, then you need to change to postgre.sql. I want to use MySQL, so you need to change this to MySQL. Or I want to use Oracle, then you need to use this command, Oracle. Or other backends are also available, so it depends on your system. Let's say you want to use all the system. It is also possible. Okay. So you can use multiple database in your system. So name, it means the name of your database. And if you're using SQLite, the database will be a file on your computer. So in that case, name should be the full absolute path, including file name and on that file. So like see this one, the db.sqlite. Yeah. So this is a file name to indicate that you use the database from the SQLite. But if you use the database from the MySQL or Postgre, then there will be another name. And you need to specify where is the location. Where is the location of your database? That's why we have the base directory. And the base directory /db.sqlite3, it means this is the location of your database file. So if you have the database in different path or in the different folder, so you need to specify this one. In Django, we have the setting, this one, base dir equals to this one. Okay. The base dir means the path that you will use for this directory. So by the default, you can use this os.path.join. So this is more general because some computers may not use Windows. So you can use this path if you want to make it more general. So by the default, the installed apps contain the following apps, of which come with Django. So you use admin. Okay. So you know the admin side. And then auth, this is authentication system. We will use it to do the login and logout system. So they already have the auth system. Content types, sessions, message, and static files. So I will not discuss all the things. Maybe I will, yeah, you already know the admin. Maybe I will use the out, this one later. And I will teach you the static files. So the static file means if your website contains images or if your website contains some JavaScript file. Okay, so we will use this one later. So whenever you do the model creation or model modification, you need to do the migration. So migrations are very powerful and let you change your model over time. Let's say you already have the model and then you want to change the model. So you can just use migration without the need to delete your database or tables and make new ones. So it means once you modify, you can just use migration to update your table. So for now, remember the three-step guide to making model changes. First, when you want to change your model, it means do something in the models.py and then run the make migrations to create migration for those changes and then run migrate to apply those changes to the database. And some explanation on the database. So the example hub is generated for this SQLite. Okay. So what we are going to use is only SQLite. So if you use another database, there will be a different kind of format. Table names are automatically generated by combining the name of the app. So if your app is FAQ, so the table name will be FAQ underbar, what is the name? And the lowercase name of the model. So we will use always lowercase. So FAQ question. And then we have FAQ underbar choice. If you look at your models, you create the model with big Q. You create your model with big C. Okay. But later on, the SQLite will create with the lowercase. Okay. We have the primary key. Okay. The primary key, yeah, if you understand the database, it will be added automatically. So for example, the question. Okay. So you will see this is the primary key. This is the ID. So even though you didn't make any ID for the model, if you go to the models.py, there is no ID. But the SQLite will create the ID. So it is added automatically. And by convention, Django appends ID to the foreign key field name. So you can override this one as well. So if you go to choice, it has ID. And then, yeah, this is the attribute that we created. But there is no ID, so SQLite generate its own ID for this foreign key. And the foreign key relationship is made explicit by a foreign key constraint. So foreign key constraint means this one. Okay, so now I'm just using the default foreign key constraint. This means that on delete, whenever we delete the data in the choice, it should have some correlation with the question in the, it should be have a relation with the data in the question. Let's say if I delete this data and I want to delete also this data. So yeah, you can define what will you do. In this case, if I delete one choice, the data in the question still remain. It will not be deleted. It is just using the cascade. So there will be another kind of deletion. Yeah. Let's say you want to delete this one and then this data also will be deleted. Then you need to use another function. Different databases have different field types of primary key automatic generators. So if you are using MySQL, there will be auto increment. If you are using Postgre, it will be a serial number. And then if you use the SQLite, it is integer primary key auto increment. If you learn at the first time SQL migrate, the SQL migrate command does not actually run the migration on your database. So please distinguish between this SQL migrate with the SQL that you will learn. So it just print to the screen so that you can see what SQL Django thinks is required. So it is just to show that you already create the table or you want to access the data. And different databases may have different ways to query the data. So this is just the beginning before we enter the chapter about SQL. Yeah. Let's see about SQL. In the SQL, we need to do something so we can do the query. If you already joined the database class, yeah, I hope you already know the SQL, the structured query language. And there's a command that will run the migration for you and manage your database schema automatically. We call it migrate. And in this case, I want to use the SQL migrate to take the migration names and returns their SQL. So before we do this one, I will teach another thing, how to run the manage.py. Okay. I'm going to use this run manage.py. Whenever you type the Python manage.py make migrations. So it will be tedious job if you type this one, Python manage.py, Python manage.py, Python manage.py. In the PyCharm, we have the manage.py run execution task. It means I can do the, if you go to the tools, and then you can check, there is run manage.py task. So if you click this one, so you will see this one actually is running the manage.py. And you can do something like make migration without typing all the text. So the typing all the text like what we did before. So we always type this one, Python manage.py, make migrations. Python manage.py, migrate. Okay. With running the manage.py, we don't need this one. We don't need this one. So we will just write the make migration. We will just need the migrate. So for example, yeah, make migration. Yeah, because there is nothing to change, so it will be like this one. Okay, note that if you are the first time of using Django, there might be some errors. Do you have these errors or no errors? Please run the manage.py task and check. Is there any errors? You have errors, right? So these errors, there are two alternatives. So the first alternative is put the folder anaconda lib into the environment path. What does it mean? So I think in the system 환경 변수 편집. So if you open this part, this is the environment variable. Okay. 환경 변수, environment variables. So when you click this one, there will be the environment variable section, and then you can go to the path and then add the anaconda dash, this is slash lib. Okay. So it means you will add lib at this stage. Okay. So the anaconda tree is the folder that I use for in the anaconda installation, and then you can just put the lib at the end. Sometimes it works or sometimes it doesn't work. Yeah. If you finish, you can just click OK, and then try again. So if the first alternative is not working well, so I can suggest you to do the second alternative. The second alternative is to put the SQLite3.dll into the anaconda /dlls. So you need to locate the SQLite.dll. You can see in the anaconda folder, let's say you have the anaconda in this computer. I have the anaconda in which Sayunja IME anaconda 3. Okay, so this is the folder that I use for the anaconda installation. So click this one and then find the library. And then find the bin. So the folder will be anaconda 3. This is the folder that I install my anaconda. And then go to library and then go to bin and then find the SQL3.dll. SQLite3.dll. So you will find this file and then copy this one. Copy this one and then put this file into the anaconda DLLS. So you will go to the folder anaconda and then you can find the folder DLLS. Okay. This folder, and then you can paste Control V or Ctrl key. Okay. Paste. Because I already have the file, so it seems there is no problem with my PyCharm. So if you don't have that one, then you should put this SQLite.dll into this folder, DLLS. Okay. After you do that one, I guess there will be no issue. Please check. Okay, if there is no problem, then let's try to do this simple one. Okay. We will do the SQL migrate. So the SQL migrate means we are going to make the SQL language into the Python file. So we are going to make it into the app FAQ, and this will be the first version. Okay. So you can SQL migrate FAQ, which is the app name, and then we do the 0001. Okay, so I already give to the PowerPoint. You can look at the example. SQL migrate FAQ 001. So after we type this SQL migrate FAQ 001, you can enter. Now it means the PyCharm will create the SQL language for the model creation. So this SQL migrate will be needed when you want to use another kind of user interface for the database. And after you have this one, of course, you will see this migration. Last time we already learned this one. With this table creation, you can do again migrate. Let's do the migrate again. Because we have only one app, you don't need to specify the app name. If you have several apps, you need to define what is the app name. So like this one, you can see they require the app name. If you have only one, then it is not necessary. Okay, so it means there is nothing to change because we just generate the creation, the SQL creation. So once you already create those SQL migrate, later on we can make the query console. Okay, we can make the query here. Or you can see some functions in this part. Some functions in this part, for example, you can edit data. It is not available if you don't click on one of the table. So if you click on this table, you can edit the data. You can click and it goes here. So it will give you the condition. Where is the condition? And order by, it means you want to, let's say, you want to sort the data. So compare means you want to compare some table with another table. And then query language. So we will learn this query language. If you want to make a new query console, then you can create a new query console. Or if you want to open the default console, this will be the default console. Okay. So next, we are going to do the data access. So the data access, there will be two kinds of data access in this section. You can use Python shell or you can use the SQL. So Python shell means you will use the Python code to access the data. It means when we use the Python code, you can use it in the view or also in the template. So we have the M, V, T, if you still remember. V is the view and T is the template. So you can use the Python code for that one. But if you use the SQL, so the SQL, it is mainly for the database. So only for the model. But you can also use this SQL into the view and the template. So you can also use later in the Python file. So if you understand the Python shell and then if you understand the SQL at the same time, then you can apply this SQL into the Python code. So for now, I will just use the Python shell rather than SQL because this is the introduction for the query. So I will use the Python shell first. So the Python shell, maybe, yeah, until this part, we can do something like, we can make a new query. So you can go here. There is a QL, so we can make a new query. And then you can type any query, what you want to do. Let's say if you learn the basic query is select star from the table name. So the table name is question, but there is no table question. You need to specify the FAQ question. If you already have this one, then you can run with display button and you can have the result at the below side. So in this case, you are going to make your own query. Okay, I will stop this one. I will continue the remaining on Thursday. Okay.